The last step is to create a data table with at least 20 points. So let's go back to our equation and see how we can do that. Okay, so here, what I'm going to do is move to the left bar, and I'm going to select this tool over here, which is the point tool. Click on that. Come back to the graph and click on the graph so that I have a point here. I'm going to go back up to the toolbar and click on the select tool and come back down here. I can right click and say abscissa. That's going to give me the X value. We've already called it horizontal displacement in meters. C just tells me that it's point C. Okay, so the horizontal displacement in meters is minus 1.09 over here. I can click again and I want my Y value, so I'm going to click on ordinate. Okay, I'm going to move this somewhere where we can see it. Okay. So horizontal displacement and height. If I move my C, you can see that those values are changing depending on the position. Okay, so here, for example, my height should be about 0. Yes, and the horizontal displacement is minus 1.49. Okay, so you can play around with your point. We want to create a data table, so I'm going to click on these two values. I'm going to deselect the point. Make sure only these two values are clicked. And I'm going to go to Graph and Tabulate. That's going to create a data table. So in my data table, I have the X values, which is the horizontal displacement, and the Y values, which is the height. Okay, so right now you see there's only one point in the table. I want to record many points, so I'm going to go to Graph again, and we're going to say Add Table Data. I'm going to say Add. We want at least 20 data points, so I'm going to say 25, even better. You can put more if you want. And we're going to add an entry about every 0.4 seconds. We can play around with that. If that's not going to work later, if it doesn't yield 25 points, we can change it. Okay, so if I wanted to go faster, I'll put in a shorter time. If I want it to go slower, I'll put in a longer time. Okay, so for now I'll try 0.4. Okay. Now I can click on my point, right click, and say animate point. Okay, so you see that it starts to move along the graph. I'll stop it when it gets to the end. Stop. So if we look over here, you should double check that you have at least 20 points. Okay, I'm lucky I had exactly 20 points. If you don't have 20 points, you can delete, go back, and change the time. Okay, so now I have a data table with at least 20 points. Now you're almost ready for your final product or the final Geometry Sketchpad file that you will print and submit with the rest of the project. Okay, so if you read carefully in the project, okay, in the last part it says take your equation from number 1 and graph it in the Geometry Sketchpad file along with the rest of the required items. Okay, so we need to take the equation from number 1, so the equation that you will have written up here that you got from the graphing calculator, and graph it in the Geometry Sketchpad. Okay, so you're going to come here, right click, plot new function, and you're going to write the equation that you obtained in the form y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So you're going to graph that. Okay, so you should have 2 graphs over here in your final product. I only have one. You should have 2 graphs. After you've done that, you can play around with your colors and positions. If you want to hide things, for example, we do not need to see this, so I'm going to right click and say hide. Click here, right click and say hide measurement. I need to move my table so that I can see the label here at the x-axis. I need to see this label as well. The equation, if you want, you can put it closer to the graph. You can change the color so that it matches the graph's color. Up to you, okay? But make sure that it's something that we can see when you print it. So play around so that it looks presentable. Don't forget, you should have 2 graphs with 2 equations in your final product. Okay, so that's all, and then you answer the questions on the project handout.